Hello and welcome to the live stream. I'm Maria Sorducan. I'm an illustrator and comic book author, and this is the Tuesday afternoon live stream where I document my work process for the Timemongers project, which is an illustration comics live concert project, and I'm looking forward to see how it will branch out from here. I thought for a change today I'm going to do a bit of actual live drawing. For the last 3 weeks I've been doing digital illustrations for the traditional fairy tales on which this project is based. And the plan today is to work a bit on the sketchbook. So the sketchbook, it's a roadmap in which I try to make sense of my ideas, and I try to find more or less coherent interpretation of the 3 fairy tales, but through a modern lens. Something between a retelling and a personal journal, I would say. So here we are, and this is the sketchbook. It's done in the frame of the Helen Salzberg residency for the Jaffe Center for Book Arts in Florida. And I think it's fair to consider this sketchbook as the starting point. It's a place where I have fun. These are the 3 original fairy tales I started with, and then a transcript through my own lenses, the story of the child which does not want to be born, and a lot of blank pages, because I'm not doing it chronologically, but rather whenever I feel like drawing, I choose a piece of the story and I illustrate it. This is the passage of time. This is the child growing up and growing up. And this is the child reaching the crossroad and having to choose between 3 options. The traditional version of this was illustrated in the Crossroad video. So this is the original hero. And these are the modern day choices. Love. Power, which isn't yet finished because I still have to draw a sword hilt and I couldn't be bothered to do the research yet. And comfort. Then more blank pages. And then the child reaches paradise. And this is a play on the illustrations I did for Youth Without Old Age last week. Different visions of paradise depending on what choice the child made at the crossroad. And sort of me trying to explore the idea a bit more and trying to have fun with, let's say, relative success. I'm not really happy with this page, but it's a sketchbook. Not everything can be perfect. And in the middle of the paradise, the child decides to stop time. This is from the 7-headed dragon. And this is time, played by a jogger tied to a tree. And for some reason, I wrote here, leave this page empty. And I should have given more instructions, because now I can't remember why I wanted to leave this page empty. More blank pages, and then a happy ending of sorts, I think, where the child, now grown and old, makes peace with fate. And these were like the final images, which I didn't draw because they weren't dried yet, but I might attempt to try something now. So, in the last week, I've discovered something really, really interesting. Apparently, you don't have to talk all the time during live streams, which was news to me. So, I'm going to attempt today to do less talking. I can't really promise it's going to work, because I like to talk. But at some point I will stop, and I won't try to explain what I'm doing, because it's just it's a lot less structured than the previous videos, and I really don't know what's going to happen, so I can't explain what I'm doing. I think at least with digital illustration there's a technique and a process, but I haven't really spent so much time with traditional illustration to have a reliable, repeatable process. So what I have is experiments and a lot of materials and art supply I managed to gather in the last 15 years. And then I spend the rest of the time drawing digitally, so no luck there. And hello people watching the stream. I hope it's interesting for you. And I hope the sound is good, I hope the video is fine. All that. I should probably share the link, but not sure that's going to happen today. Okay, so here we are, and what's going to happen is I'm going to try and draw the ending, which I don't think I've ever been satisfied with. Supposedly at the end, the character is now happy, and it's not happy because of life circumstances, but rather because she's learned to live with all the sadness and sort of find solace in her memories and find the value in life despite the hardships. And it sounds very corny when you say it. I think it sounds better when you live through it, but it's not something you can be taught. It's not something someone can come up to you and say, hey, be happy with your life experiences. So I'm not sure how I can visually translate it properly, but I will try. I will do my best. And as I said, since I don't actually have a reproducible process, I never know what my instruments are going to do. And I keep trying to find a white which would work. This seems good enough. So let's see if I can draw in silence. 10-minute challenge. something like this, or at least variations on this subject. But I feel like I should be changing the angle a little. Since it's a sketchbook, that means I get to play around. And I do want to add more text, but I'm not sure the text is sort of intended for reading. So let's see. It's very satisfying to actually use the supplies I've been gathering for ages and ages. Let's see. Which one dries faster? And the whole plan is that eventually, after I have everything figured out, I'll be able to change some of these ideas into books. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, I won't be able to draw on this right away, but at least it didn't bleed to the other side, so over there, and I'll try another version up here while hoping the other one dries out. Oh, questions. What questions? So this book will be exhibited as it is. Yeah, the plan is to have this as part of the final exhibition and hopefully sort of show my process a bit. We'll see how that goes. And I'm also going to use it to make a more polished version. I think the nice thing about art residencies is that you get time to explore ideas and you don't have to go and play along with the first thing that came into your mind. My initial plan was to use the sketchbook as a roadmap and sort of try to figure out how the concept can be expanded and turned into a full narration. But the more I work, the more I worry that I'm just, in fact, repeating and revisiting ideas without too much introspection. I mean, it's a very pleasant thing to do. I am not exactly sure how efficient it is, but also I found that thinking too much about concepts and obsessing about them doesn't yield results that are very good, because then I tend to spend a lot of time in my head and sort of lose the joy of creating, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to keep the balance, not sure it's working. Hello, and welcome to the live stream where I attempt to not talk so much and fail miserably, because I feel as if I invited people to my studio and then I spend the time ignoring them, so I'm not sure how this draw without talking works for other artists. It certainly doesn't work for me. But at least you get to see how the visual process works and how sketches evolve. Even if it's not... I mean, I hope it's interesting, but it's definitely not the final version, so... What can I say? Welcome to the studio. When I did the tarot deck, I sort of figured all the symbols, and the golden leaves were supposed to mean paradise. And for the live stream, I realized gold doesn't translate that well, so I'm using ochre. Also, I ran out of gold, so... One of the lessons I've learned about buying art supplies before you know what you want to do with them is that some of them tend to dry out faster than the others, so there's that. I would like to say lesson learned, but lesson not really learned, and I keep doing the same mistake over and over again. So the only way to avoid this is to avoid going to art supply shops. And good luck with that. Okay. Still need to add the flames. I like the old manuscript look. Not sure. I mean, obviously in a book you'd have to have some text around the illustrations. But my problem is that I'm never sure how much should be explained and how much should be, I don't know, implied. Yeah, certainly I can use text as decorations, that's fine. My problem was, if I'm not there to talk non-stop and explain what I'm doing, will people understand what I'm trying to do? And it's a bit more complicated than that, because, okay, fine. Assuming they don't understand, is it still sort of good? Still a satisfying experience? Because I don't think everything should be explained, but I think the experience should still be, let's say, rewarding. Art is not language, so the clarity of the message, let's say, is not the goal. And presumably, if I have all the books and all the fairy tales and everything in the exhibition, at least some people will have the patience to go through all of that and find out what I was attempting to do. But still, I wonder how much I should be explaining. The only trouble with having the notebook as part of the exhibition is that I will live in fear it will disappear. Because for the digital artwork, yeah, I can make copies. It's fine, it's not a problem. But I'm not even sure this notebook is going to scan that well. Ideally, people would get to interact with it and see what's going on and turn the pages and sort of follow the story. And I worry that that's only going to work once. And then I'll never see the notebook again. Yeah, it's a genuine fear because... And I'm not even blaming the public. I'm blaming them a little bit, but there's so many like leaflets and sort of worthless print material that people are sort of trained to take something unless it's expressly specified that you shouldn't be taking stuff from the exhibition. And I'm not sure how you would go around about that, but I'll find out. Can you show other works from the sketchbook? Yes, of course. I already finished these small illustrations, and I will be probably trying to find some other blank pages. They will take the sketchbook unless it's attached to a crocodile. Okay, fine. It's gonna be an exhibition with a crocodile, a small dragon guarding the sketchbook. So yes. A peek into my mind. I'm really unhappy with this illustration. The concept was good, but this is not the best version of this. I can show you the absolute best version. Because I said the plan is to expand the sketches in the sketchbook into proper books and objects, and the best one so far is this one. I'm really happy with this one. But yeah, ideally there's gonna be 4 of these in the final product. In the meantime, this is not the best version of this illustration. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think occasionally it's a with exhibition it's a thing how you set the mind, how you set the mindset of the people visiting. Do they get the idea that it's okay to take stuff from the table, or do they get the idea that it's not okay? And you can't have both. I mean, I don't think you can have a table where people can take stuff and a table where they're not supposed to take stuff, because that's really hard to signal. Okay, some of these could use some faces. Not all of them, but some. And this notebook, I got it from the one and only time I visited the Frankfurt Book Fair, I think over 10 years ago. And China had an exhibition, I think they were the guest, and they were giving out notebooks, and all the pages are actually folded, so presumably you could draw on something like this. well, eventually I'm probably just going to risk it and either... I don't know. I would really like to have the notebook. More blank pages on which I will eventually draw something. This was something I used to do at the end of high school and my first uni years when I was obsessed with illuminated manuscripts. And I was trying to emulate the look of sacred texts, which I am still trying to do to some extent. And yeah, this is not good, not happy with it. Maybe I should at least try to add some color. Because I don't think I can rescue the figure. But at least make it three-dimensional. I also question the wiseness of using watercolor pastels on this. Because it means that if you touch the image, you're gonna get some color on your hands, but it is what it is. I never used to worry about stuff getting stolen, but then I had some, let's say, interesting experiences at the beginning of the year, so with an exhibition. So at least now I know the possibility exists and I'll have to plan for it. Or at least scan the whole thing. Only sometimes when I do sketches and then scan them and do sketches and then scan them, it feels like an unnecessary archival process. Well, slightly better. Not good, but better. Can you use a spray on pastels? I think you could. I'm just worried that it might soak through the pages. Because these are water-soluble pastels. And I have fixative varnish. I have several, in fact, but they all tend to be either quite liquid when applied or be a lot like a proper wood varnish. I mean, they smell well and they smell very strong and they tend to... I fear they would stain and I fear they would soak through the pages. This is actually quite thin. So yeah, I'm willing to live with the color getting transferred a little. Have to have a better type of paper, a thicker one. When I'm doing finished work with pastels, I tend to use cardboard. Not only because of the varnish, but also because that allows me to erase pastels a lot better, because I can just scrape them off. I'm thinking of doing a live drawing, a live stream with oil pastels, and this is sort of the end of the story. And these are the very tiny drawings I did today, and this should be relatively dry, safe to work on at least. Let's see. But oil pastels are anyway generally more resistant than dry pastels, which I personally hate, because I feel if you sneeze you lose everything you've drawn, and that gives me horrible anxiety. So that wouldn't work for me. Okay, table. Is it centered? No, it isn't. Character. Other characters. Variation on the same subject, more or less. Sometimes it's just relaxing to draw the same image over and over and change just a few details and see where that goes. And sometimes it's just a bit obsessive compulsive and the results aren't that great. sketchbook is to have it in the exhibition in Bucharest for Bucharest Graphic Days. This is going to be beginning of November. And I would love to have an exhibition in Cluj as well. Only I am not sure when that's going to happen or how. And by the end of the residency, which is whenever I finish all the materials, the plan is to ship everything to Florida and let them figure it out. But I would like to make some exhibitions first, especially for the originals, like the sketchbook, for example, and probably some of the art books as well, the ones which are going to be in just one copy. Because the fairy tale books, those I'll print, and those are going to be like a limited series, 25 copies, I think. At least that's the plan for now. But the sketchbook, I'm definitely, even if I scan it, which I will, I'm definitely not going to print it, because it's not, I mean, it's not being made to be printed, it's just documentation. But yeah, I'll probably post about the exhibitions if and when they happen. I was thinking about the whole logistics thing for Bucharest specifically, because I don't really have other locations planned for now. But I don't know where the Bucharest exhibition is going to be. I know it's going to include prints from the tarot deck and whatever other materials are going to be ready by then. In the meantime, since last week, I managed to find, I mean, not only to find the print shop, but I'm pretty sure where I'm going to print the books. I have sort of an idea about costs, so things are going pretty well. If this was were digital, I would have done the black contour on a separate layer, and now I would make that layer invisible and decide I like it better without the black contour. But since this isn't digital and I can't hit undo, I'll have to leave with the black contoured leaves. Not really happy about them. I should have done a contour, but probably with ochre. Oh well, I'll know next time. I always find it very difficult to switch from, I mean, not very difficult, but let's say slightly annoying to switch from digital to traditional, because I get used to the shortcuts, and drawing digitally, it's a different thought process, because you go through different phases. And I get the same thing when I switch from traditional to digital, but at least traditional medium is a lot easier to reproduce digitally nowadays. Well, as sketches go, I'll count myself pretty happy with this one. So I'm going to leave it here. these also have flames. I'm not going to add flames here. And this is something from a completely different project, but something which I am going to adapt for the present project. I don't even remember what this was, but I'm happy to notice that I was still drawing houses and tables and people sitting around tables, so I can work with this. And I think this is linocut. I wish I remembered why I did it. That would be fun. I think this is going to be pretty much it for today. Did 3 sketches, took me a whole hour. And it's not bad as sketches go. I still need to fill the gaps with some text, maybe not all the gaps, just some of them. I'll be thinking about that. But this was pretty much the live stream for today. So, thank you very much for keeping me company, and I hope this was interesting. Thanks and bye.